Alright, everybody. I'm back with Volume 3 of my NBA preseason previews and predictions for the 2020-2021 NBA season. And for Volume 3, that's going to be focused on my number 3 favorite NBA team, and that would be the Los Angeles Lakers. If I had to summarize the Los Angeles Lakers this year compared to last year, as far as what's in store for them, I would say if the 2019-2020 season was a reboot, the 2020-2021 season is going to be a sequel, for want of a better comparison, like a Hollywood summertime box office blockbuster. You have Anthony Davis and LeBron James as the reprising their roles as the main stars, I'll say, and the rest of the cast has been slightly changed. It's a mixture of new players and old players, but I mean, this is a case of talent rich getting talent richer, if I can say it that way. And expectations are going to be even higher this time around. LeBron James and Anthony Davis didn't have much of an off season, as did the rest of the NBA. But as far as the Lakers go, the reinforcements most definitely have definitely arrived. I'll go into the names in a little bit, but the defending champions, they quickly retooled for their title defense this year. But one of the many questions is, can the Los Angeles Lakers recapture the magic with new faces and key roles, and having to replace those new faces with some familiar ones, such as JaVale McGee, Rajon Rondo, and other player, I can't think of his name now. Dwight Howard. I should have remembered Dwight Howard, because at one point in time he played for the Lakers. It was when Kobe Bryant was still on the roster. I completely forgot about it. Lost my train of thought there for a second. Yeah, where were we up until a couple months ago as far as the Lakers? They were on the hardwood floor of the quote unquote NBA bubble at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, with a rain of purple, gold, and white confetti flying from the rafters. But the celebration of the franchise's 17th championship definitely took place inside, albeit a sealed off arena because of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was an emotional time. I mean, the Lakers finally won their 17th championship, and at the same time, they also tied the Boston Celtics for the number of championships. They have 17 also. Excuse me, but that's only a surprising part of the title run, in my opinion. The Lakers overall, on their roster, they had too much of Anthony Davis and LeBron James for anyone else to handle in a revamped playoff stage. Both stayed healthy, first and foremost, which is good for anybody, no matter who it is. If you're able to stay healthy and get plenty of rest going into the playoffs, I commend you for that. But both guys delivered a high-level performance, and actually, I take that back. They delivered beyond expectation performances because of how great they were. He had a solid supporting cast and defense-first philosophy, which was demanded by head coach Frank Vogel. Fred Vogel. I keep thinking his name is Fred, but anyway, Frank Vogel. Lost my train of thought again. But overall, the Lakers enjoyed a triumphant return to glory months after the passing of Kobe Bryant, which when I was talking with one of my coworkers back in the spring, I said something to the effect of, should the Los Angeles Lakers make it to the NBA Finals and win it, they should do something in terms of referencing and or mentioning Kobe Bryant. And several months later, they ended up going to the NBA Finals, and they ended up winning it. So, who's to say that was going to happen? That was just a wild prediction. At first, I wasn't even sure if it was going to happen, but it did. But some of the names on the roster, as far as the likes of Danny Green, Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee, it's a case of out with the old and in with the new. Out with the old in this case, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, Rajon Rondo, and Danny Green, and in with the new, and that comes in the form of Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, Wesley Matthews, and Marc Gasol. And it's rather funny because championship teams rarely change much from one year to the next, because there's a tendency in sports to just run it back. But the Lakers roster was always built on flexibility, and they offered only short-term contracts to a supporting cast to enable the Lakers to upgrade if necessary. But by almost every metric, or major position as far as the team, at least as far as the new additions, the Los Angeles Lakers improved on their shooting with the signing of Wesley Matthews, in my opinion. Creativity on the floor with Dennis Schroeder. Spacing on the floor with Marc Gasol. And Montrezl Harrell with the pick and roll. For a team coming off the season's biggest win, this is a win-win for the Los Angeles Lakers. Not very many people are going to think that this is that's spectacular as far as the signing of those four, but I think it'll pay dividends for them, especially going into the playoffs. But with Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, and Marc Gasol going into the fold, I think I believe LeBron James should be able to get more assisted baskets and even more rest too. But there is no longer a reason for the offense to collapse when LeBron James goes to the bench. There's also no longer an excuse for it to devolve into a stagnant ISO ball type of situation when he's on the court. But the champions are definitely they would definitely be in favor of a longer off season, as everyone else in the NBA would. But they're ready to defend their championship, and I personally can't wait to see what happens. I'm going to do things a little bit backwards. I'm going to give my predictions as far as where they go in the standings and what I predict the starting five is going to be. But first of all, with the Los Angeles Lakers, on a final note, as far as the offseason, they may have won the offseason, but it's not as if they added Kevin Durant to a team that won 73-10, or 72-10. I'm sorry, like the 95-96 Bulls did. But yeah, the Lakers deserve another trophy, also just mainly for how they ran circles around the competition and free agency. I mean, you're not supposed to be able to add an all-defense caliber center and players who finish between first and second and sixth man of the year voting when you don't have the salary cap space and you already trade away most of your future first-round picks. But I guess those are the perks of being the Los Angeles Lakers and having LeBron James on your roster. So, I'm sure the roster is going to be better because last year the Lakers were 11th in offense, they were 17th in the half court, and they were much worse than that with LeBron James on the bench. I don't remember exactly where they ranked, but when LeBron James was on the bench, you can tell things started to go downhill. The longer he was on the court, the better the team was. But overcoming their predictability and iffy spacing would have been a difficult feat to pull off 2 years in a row. But I think I think the future is looking more than bright right now for this team. I guess on the flip side for Marc Gasol, sometime in January, I don't remember when, but he turns 36. So you have to point out that at the very least the possibility of an underwhelming postseason last year, that's evidence of a decline. Some people would make that argument. I'm not really all that confident that his body is going to hold up after an abbreviated off season, and I prefer my players in that position, such as his, for example, to shoot threes with more conviction. But he's well worth. He's more than worth a shot on a minimum contract. But I wouldn't go so far as to say that he's the missing piece for the offense, like how he was a few years ago with Toronto. But he's a piece. He's not the missing piece, but he's one of them. But had they not assigned Marc Gasol, I might share the opinion of those saying, signings of Marc Gasol and Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder, for example. They were more impressive in terms of value than in terms of how much they actually help out the team. But with the signing of Marc Gasol, he's a future Hall of Famer. I guarantee you, if he were to announce retirement at the end of this season, he would go into the Hall of Fame. He would definitely have my vote. His shooting and passing are going to open up so many possibilities in the half court. So don't overthink it that much. And with Montrezl Harrell and Marc Gasol, they, for want of a better choice of words, they gave the Lakers a discount, so to say. This is definitely a talented roster. At least on paper, this definitely is a talented roster. Maybe slightly more talented than what they were last year, but you can make the argument. You can make the argument, yes, they are. Some could say, no, they're not, but we'll see. The other question is this a better roster than last year? I don't know, but neither Montrezl Harrell or Marc Gasol were really that impressive the last time we saw them in the playoffs. And postseason time is that time of year when the Lakers are really going to be judged. Because replacing Danny Green with Wesley Matthews, it sounds like a good idea, but will it pay off? I think it will only if Dennis Schroeder can replicate the best season of his career, but I'm not convinced that that's likely. On one hand, I have high hopes as far as the new additions on the roster, but on the other hand, I'm still not quite sold on it yet. I'm gonna go. Okay, potential starting five. LeBron James, of course. Last year he had 25.5 points per game, almost 8 rebounds per game, and 10.5 assists per game. While building a case for being the GOAT, he's continuing to defy age, the ageless wonder. So it's a no-brainer. Starting five with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. If you were to build a team from scratch and you had the choice as far as those two, who else would you put on the floor? As far as the Lakers go, and LeBron James and Anthony Davis would definitely be it. Anthony Davis, excuse me, 9.5 rebounds per game, let's say 10, and 26 points per game. His impact on both ends is steep and unreachable by anybody except for Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak from Milwaukee. Dennis Schroeder, 19 points per game, 4 assists per game, and almost 4 rebounds. He's an elite finisher at the rim. He's a solid creator, and he's going to reduce the ball dependency on LeBron James's part. Marc Gasol, 7.5 points per game, let's say 8. 6.5 rebounds per game, let's say 7, and 3.5 assists per game. So bump it up to 4. Coming off his worst season, but he could still space the floor. You can still defend big guys and pass from the high post. So that's if he can shake off what happened last year and move forward this year, and continue to play the way he's been known to, and you can rest assured that those stats will definitely change. Cantavious, Caldwell, Pope, 1.5 assists per game. Let's say two rebounds per game and 9.5 points per game. He's an aggressive guard. I like the way he plays. I really do. He's an aggressive combo player. He had big moments under pressure in the NBA Finals, and much like the rest of the team, he ended up coming through when they called his number. So for reserves, Wesley Matthews, 7.5 points per game, 2.5 rebounds per game, and 1.5 assists per game. He's a catch and shooter. He's that type of player. He hopes to feast on open looks with 2 stars on the floor, and I think he'll get his shot this year. It will be rather interesting to see how he performs this year. I think the NBA season starts, I'll say it's either the 22nd or the 23rd. Today's the 21st. I want to say it's the 23rd. So we still have a few more days to see what the Lakers are made of, along with the rest of the roster as far as the NBA teams. Montrezl Harrell, 18.7 points per game. Let's just bump it up and say 19. 7 rebounds per game, and the reigning Kia 6th Man award winner. He brings fire and energy to the roster, but he's how can I say, he lags defensively, if I can say that. You know, that's tough for me to say, and that might sound a little harsh, but there was an article I saw. Somebody said the same thing. So maybe coming to the Lakers will be a slight change of pace for him in the way he plays the game. I don't know. I think it will be though. Kyle Kuzma, 13 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, and 1.5 assists per game. He struggled through a disappointing year, and he needs a bounce back or else. And I think the bounce back season comes in the form of 2020, 2021. That being said, I predict the Los Angeles Lakers go 54-18. I know that's going to be a little bit of a stretch, but they will definitely make the postseason. If you were to have made predictions several months ago as far as which team is going to make the postseason and or the NBA Finals, I definitely predict the Los Angeles Lakers making the NBA Finals again. The defending champions find themselves in the NBA Finals one more time, and I don't know against who though, but say that prediction comes to pass, it would be a rather interesting sight to see. And they end up on top in the Pacific Division. This is going to be a no-brainer. There might be some teams that try to catch up to them or get rather close, but I still think at the end of the day the Lakers wind up number 1 in their division. You got the Clippers. You have the Clippers, the Sacramento Kings, the Portland Trailblazers, and there's another team in the Pacific Division, I believe, the Golden State Warriors. There might be another one. I can't think of who it is off the top of my head right now. But yeah, as far as I know, I think that's Lakers, Los Angeles Lakers, Los Angeles Clippers, Sacramento Kings, Portland Trailblazers, and Golden State Warriors. I think there might be another team or two that I'm forgetting, but anyway. Let me know what you guys think. I will be back. I should be back within the next day or two, hopefully by the time the regular season starts. I'll be back with another installment as far as preseason previews and predictions. I'm going to move on to another team that I follow. And that being said, let me know what you think. Follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to my page if you haven't already. Drop a comment. Give the video a like. And thank you for the continued support on my channel. I really appreciate it. So that being said, have a good one. Talk to you later. Stay safe, be well, take care, and keep an eye out for when the next video comes up. So, I'm out.